What's up, guys, and welcome. Today we're going over a special epic A5 tier list, and I'm not alone today. I got a special guest for you guys, someone who knows these epics really well due to his free-to-play journey. He does daily content from guides to funny videos. He's a goated content creator for Watcher of Realms. Lots of you will probably already know him. He's got the looks, he's got the charm, he's got it all. Please welcome my dear friend, Fastidious.
Well, that was quite the introduction. Thank you so much, Ronaldo. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to rank some epics. For me, epics are like the lifeblood of the game, so let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I touched on before, right? We didn't spend any money on pulls, so we had to rely on these epics, which makes us quite knowledgeable in terms of these epics, in my opinion. And also, what I think is extremely nice about this game, what I really like about this game, is that in this game, unlike in some other gacha games, these epics are actually quite strong and are quite viable even in endgame. So starting off with my first unit here, and that is going to be one that I have a special place for in my heart, and that is Laurel. And as you can see, I will put her in S+ tier, which is a lot higher than most of you guys will probably expect her to be. Because I want to start off with a bit of a bang, huh? Shaking you up, get you a bit awake, right? Why is she S+ tier? Well, she has basically one use and one use only, and that is you put her in and take her out. Sounds stupid, but she gives 50% rage. And that 50% rage is extremely valuable for certain characters DPS that have high rage caps. And especially if you have Comet, like he will just benefit so much. With my Comet and Laurel, I was easily able to wipe out stage 20 of Gear 2, for example. And she also helps my Tariel. She helps in Arena. She's God tier in Arena strats. And what's your opinion about her?
Yeah, Laurel's a champion who I pulled really early on the account I did before the account all you guys know, which I was like, I tried the game out for a week to see if I would be interested in making content on it, and I loved it, so I made a new account. And the new account is what I just have, what you guys used to, and I just pulled Laurel there. But I had her on that first account, and I used her all the time, just like you're saying. I was on stream the other day. I literally pulled her yesterday, so I still haven't built her. I'm so excited. But I was on stream, and someone was saying, oh, you know who'd be great here? The Rage Mage. And I thought that was a really fun way to refer to her, because that's basically all she does. Just like you said, Ronaldo, you put her in, then you take her out, and then she gives rage to everyone. So she's the rage mage. She's the best.
Yeah, exactly. She has one use, but that one use she does well. And quick disclaimer for this list on how we rank these characters. It's quite important to know, actually. Basically, if a character does one job and one job only, but does that really well, it's a lot better than a jack of all trades than a master of none.
Yeah.
So that is quite important for this tier list. And other aspect that I consider and rate really highly for this tier list is if these characters are easily replaceable. So if you have a unit that does one job but there's no replacement, this bumps this unit a lot higher up in the tier list.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laurel's a great first example because she's super unique in what she's able to do.
Exactly. Now the next unit I want to go over with everyone is one of the more worse units. It's Nazim. I don't know, I put him in dog water. I don't have much to say about him. His kit just doesn't synergize with itself. What do you have to say about him?
I have nothing to say about Nazim. You can pull up his kit if you want. I'm just super unimpressed by him. I've actually pulled him 3 times, unfortunately. But yeah, he's trying to do a bunch of different things. And from at least reading the kit, if anyone's tested him out, let us know. But from reading through his kit, it doesn't seem like he does any of them well.
Yeah, so basically what he does is he deals damage. He's a mage, but at the same time, he's healing people as well. But he also does some AoE. So he basically, like I said before, he does a bunch of stuff, but nothing at all. Like he can't excel at anything, basically.
He's like a kid in school taking 10 classes instead of 4, but he's getting D's in all of them.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Next up, what's your opinion about our Piercer Lord here?
For me, Lunaria, 100% S+.
S+?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, so Lunaria is the first Lord I ever pulled. And then like 3 days later, they announced her shard summing event. But I'm very happy because now everyone gets her. She's extremely potent for her Lord skill alone. It's a super easy read. Some Lord skills are confusing, like Pyros, super good Lord skill, but just confusing. Lunaria is just she adds one line of range onto all the piercers in her faction, and that extra line literally can be the difference between having no chance at gear raid 318 or 319 and then clearing it. So I think that alone, to me, talk about doing something unique, that's an S+. Also, if you're willing to put some soul stones into her, she does pretty solid magic damage. I will say one demerit to her is I hate the fact that she does magic damage. I think it's super weird. She's literally the lord of the piercers. Everyone else does piercing damage, so you're using her in piercing damage content with like light armor and aerial units. She does do a little damage to air units, but against light armor, she does like absolutely nothing. Most of these units have really high magic resistance, so that bothers me. But if you use her properly, she can do damage. But most importantly, that Lord skill, that extra line of range is tremendous.
Okay, yeah. At first, I was considering her only at S tier, simply because of my units, right? My piercers that I use are Watchers as well, and I have Leia, so of course the Legendary Lord is better. But the thing is that she is the main Lord for Gear Raid 3, right? And Gear Raid 3 is basically the most important content in the game. And being the Lord for that alone just bumps her up, even if she's not like the highest damage dealer, but just being the Lord on its own is such a valuable thing.
Yeah. She also looks great. She's such a cool champion.
That's true. And like you said, that extra range, especially in Gear 3, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
Then next up, Lightlock. What do you think of Lightlock now after his nerfs?
After his nerf, I think I would give him an A.
An A.
Yeah. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll very quickly just say I still think he can do some damage, and he's a super potent healer. He has bad base HP, so it takes away from his heals and his damage because you have to focus on that as well. And he no longer has like the one place where he shines like crazy, but he still can do damage in Gear Raid 1. But since the nerf, I probably would have had him S+, and now I probably would put him at an A.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. On the tier list that I've prepared here on my phone, he is also A. Simply because he doesn't do many things. Most of the healers that we have here have other qualities other than healing as well. He's an attack-based healer, and he heals a lot. He heals quickly, but his damage isn't here anymore. And he's doing the healing job, but nothing else on top of the healing job will only get you so far as an A.
Yeah, I agree.
Then next healer, Lily.
I would put her in Dogwater.
Dogwater?
I hate her, kid. I don't know where she wouldn't be easily outclassed by almost every other healer.
I think she's A.
Tell me about it.
Let me pull her up real quick. Where is she? I think she's underrated. So when you have her here, if you go to the details, her attack and HP are quite decent, and I think being an attack-based healer is what a lot of people say is a negative thing. Is what I don't believe is that negative, being an attack-based healer, cause usually you can put on some HP on these healers, and on top of that she has a unkillable buff for a unit when this unit dies, and a damage buff as well. So she has healing, she has attack-based healing, single target healing, and she can like save one unit from critical strike damage, which for me is enough to put her in A.
Can you go to her passive so you can read through the... I'm not so familiar. I read her when I pulled her.
That one ally within the basic attack range has a chance to be immune to one fatal strike and immediately gain a shield equal to 20% of their max HP for 10 seconds. This effect can trigger and be triggered every 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think
it's right here.
I guess there's probably some niche use for that, but that's still only 10 seconds. And if they were already in the position to take fatal damage, maybe she's not Dogwater, but then for me, she's still not going to be higher than C. I think the other good attack healers, one, I think her HP is really low, so that's going to suffer her other healing stats. But then also I think the other ones have some extra unique quality, like Lightlock's damage or Nasandai's bounces or something like that, or not to mention like the amazing ones like Hollow. I just don't see how if somehow she's your only healer besides Camille, I think that's one thing, but otherwise I just don't see anyone using her.
Yeah, maybe I have quite a high value on her because I didn't get a healer for like the first 2 weeks of playing the game.
Well, there you
So I had
go.
to fuse my light lock to have, and I used like Camille for a long time. But yeah, you're right. But I would still give her B.
We can compromise on
Simply
B.
because you need a healer.
Mm-hmm.
So any healer will do the job at some point in the early game, right?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe there's a piece of Void Rift content or something where we're going to need that Thorny Shield. So, yeah.
Now, next unit I would like to go over is actually Soleil, because I think Soleil is underrated. Simply because I've seen people beat Gear Rate 2 stage 21 with Soleil. Stage 21. Now, of course, this was a cracked out A5 Soleil, but we're talking here about the awakenings as well, and her awakenings are actually nuts. So if we go to the mages real quick, and we go to the awakenings, so Vibrant Flame cooldown, each attack bounces up to 5 targets, dealing 145% damage to each effect. Deals basically AoE bounce attack, cooldown 30% reduced. This is not that big of a deal, but here she has a lower attack interval, crit rate, and then now Vibrant Flame can now bounce on the same target multiple times to deal damage. This was the main problem without AA5, that she can only use her ultimate basically on one target once, and then it will bounce around. But this way it can bounce through all the units at gear rate 2 and just AoE them down. She's basically a budget Comet in that aspect. Of course Comet will do more damage, but she can actually do the same job.
But wait, it's still a total of 5 bounces, or does the bounce total change?
The bounces total goes to 7, I think. Wait.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 7 bounces.
Okay, yeah, pretty potent. So we'll just bounce on the same one till it kills them and then move on?
It will bounce around. I don't know if you play League of Legends, but there's a unit called Brand who is also fire. Maybe they have it from there.
I'll take your word for it.
And his ultimate is also, he throws his fire at one unit, and when there's a one unit close to it, it bounces to the other one, and then if there it bounces back between these, back and forth.
I won't argue with you. I haven't used her. Seems niche to me, but we can give her an A.
Okay, then you had a special take on Brienne, right?
Sure. So I did get a preview of Ronaldo's first draft of the list, but he was very open to suggestions, and I definitely think Brienne should be very high. I think she should either be S or S plus. I'm willing to hear your thoughts, but I just think Brienne, in terms of just putting out some major piercing nukage, is 100% unrivaled among all the epics in the game currently available. I think Tariel can do some really cool stuff in terms of taking advantage of her ultimate and having an amazing range and doing really cool single target stuff. But a well-built Brienne with a lot of attack speed and just really high DPS stats, as like I showed in my Gear Aid 318 walkthrough, is nuts. And she can really just obliterate content. And especially, she's an all-star. She's definitely S plus alone if you're just doing piece by piece content in anti-air arena, because she's better than Hot Sit at some things.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, her double tap against the anti-air defense, right, is insanely strong from her auto attack. Her awakenings are insanely strong as well. Yeah,
you need to awaken her, at least awaken one, or else it doesn't make sense to use her. Or at least,
if you take a look, she gets 30% penetration for multi-shot, which is
her ultimate.
And then she gets split shot, 20% extra damage. It's just
and on her A5,
talent of her.
And on her A5, she gets an extra arrow for split shot. So basically, it's almost turning into an AoE, and it hits really hard. She's so good. Like, I recommend. I'm sure Ronaldo put out content on her too, but I've got a lot of stuff on Brienne. If you guys are interested, she's one of my absolute favorite champions. And I love these simple design champions. She's just so basic and boring in such a crazy game, and I kind of love that for her.
Yeah, I mean, her anti-air defense damage is just extremely high.
Yeah.
When I tested her back in the days, level 50 to level 50 against Setram, she was basically out-damaging Setram, but then I realized I had a Leia in there who gave her the buff. But even without the Leia, she was easily keeping up with the level 50 Zetram. Of course, with level 60, the stat difference will be a bigger one. I will put her for now in S tier, and then we will see the S plus units, and then we can still decide on if she is on par with the other
I'm
ones.
fine with it, but specifically for those two things, so that's why she's not an all-arounder, but for Gear Aid 3 and for anti-air, she's so good.
Mm-hmm. Then Theowin, I think from the epic marksman, you have a lot of epic marksmen, but I think he's the worst of them, and I think he's just A tier. He does some AoE.
You think he's worse than Tazira?
No, I mean the big three, basically.
Okay.
Brienne, Theowin, and Tariel.
Okay.
I call them the big three right now.
Yeah. I called the four of them, including Tazira, the Pokemon, because they're the four ones you might start with.
Okay, yeah, fair. Yeah, he's just A.
If we keep Brienne in S, then he has to be an A. But if we move Brienne to S plus, I would potentially argue Theowin for S, because we are talking about full awakenings, and his awakenings are super potent. But I'm not gonna lose my voice over this one. Theowin's really cool. I wish he had more damage, but the crowd control is kind of a nice trade off. But yeah, but if you do have an awaken 5, he's really good and he can hit hard.
I just have some bad rep of Theowin because remember when I told you I 6-starred him and then I got Zetram after.
True.
So that's why his damage is just not as high as the other ones, and
that's
in the end
true.
he is a DPS, right? He's not a utility.
That is true.
Then
should we just
I was
gonna say, should we just go to Tariel now?
Yeah, we can touch on Tariel. What do you think of Tariel?
I think Tariel's definitely S plus, 100%. And honestly, I'm probably gonna argue for Brienne to be S plus at the end too. But Tariel, you talked about you do something really unique, really special. No one else can do. No one else can do what her ultimate can do, where she can just hit anything, anywhere on the board, and that enables a ton of stuff, both early game and late game, that you couldn't do otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think she's definitely A plus. She's the strongest marksman in my opinion. I use her in Gear Aid 220. I use her in Gear Aid 319. She takes care of pretty much every single unit there on her own.
She's nuts. I would say the one knock against Tariel is you really need her at A5, as opposed to something like Brienne that you can get away with her at A1. But if we're talking about like a long view picture of this game, and you're going to eventually get most of these epics at A5 if you play long enough, probably, then I think, yeah, she's total S plus. Mm-hmm. She's so good. I think she's like legendary quality just in an epic skin.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, not much to say about Tariel. She's just, or Idril is her new name, right?
Tariel. I'm not calling her the new name.
No? Okay, fair.
But you're right, that is the new name.
Yeah, I don't know why they changed such things. Then next up, let's go over the last marksman then.
Please, Tazira.
Zira. What do you think of her?
I think she's pretty bad. Not bad enough to put in Dogwater, but I just think there's going to be such a rare circumstance where you would choose to build her over anywhere else, any of the other ones, and I think that circumstance would be you didn't pull anyone else, in which case I'm sorry, but she's the one person I would say. So basically, if you guys don't know, when you do your first summons, first summons I think is Maureen. Your second summons will be a scripted epic marksman, and it's going to be one of these four that we just discussed. So Tazira, Tariel, Theowin, or Brienne. If you get Tazira and you're patient, I would say you should reroll because the other three are that much better than her. I'd put her as a C.
Yeah, I was leaning between C and B, but I think just she scales off attack speed, and its attack speed is just not that potent, and she gets attack speed the more enemies are there. Yeah. But if there's multiple enemies, you usually want AoEs.
Well, attack speed is tremendously potent. I think what you're trying to say is it has diminishing returns. So
yeah. And
so,
it like if you go, you can take a look here. Unleashes volley of arrow, targeting range. Or is it increases attack speed by 10 up to 70 for every enemy in range. But
that's not enough. Yeah, if it was by 30 for every enemy in range, but usually at the higher level attack speeds that you're going to build your champions with, the jumps are more like 25, 35, 40 from interval to interval, so reduction of 0.1 seconds. That's not enough.
It's just not enough, and
yeah,
you just cannot keep up with others, basically.
Yeah, she's got the same low attack interval like Brienne, and Brienne hits way harder, so it doesn't make sense to build her.
Then Eon, what do you think of Eon? You made the tier list with
Yeah, if anyone missed
Ivy,
it,
right?
me and Ivy League Gaming put out a rankings, a tier list for all the epic lords, because I do think the lords are kind of their own special thing. Aeon's insanely good. I think we had her at 5th, but that top 5, like those top 5 lords are amazing. I would easily put her S plus tier. She has one of the coolest passives in the game, besides just being a lord. Her passive, basically every attack she does is going to place both magic vulnerability and physical vulnerability. There's other stuff we could say, but that alone, I mean, plus some crowd control. Just be sure to build her as a support unit, as a high speed, high regen unit, not as a damage dealer, and you will be greatly rewarded. Plus a lord skill, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think her damage is just not there, right?
Well, her base attack, you can check. Her base attack, I think, is like 1800. She's not supposed to do damage.
Yeah, I tried her. She's just an enabler, right? She enables others. I have her. I have Vierna, and I gotta say, even though I have her and Vierna, my Comet still outperforms them. So, which is why I'm not really high on her. I don't find a spot to place her that properly in gear rate 119 because of her range is a bit scuffed.
Really? I just beat Gear Raid 119 in the test server for my Morgan showcase, and she was like great for it because she does if you guys don't know, for her ultimate, she does like this gravity force, kind of like a vortex pulling things towards her. It's a very unique form of CC. Plus, she does a slow, and then with her Lord skill, when you have a crowd control effect like slow up, other members of her faction do an extra 20% damage. So Vierna gets 20% extra damage, and everyone's pulled into her range if you have Aeon in front of her. She worked really well, I thought. We can put her a little lower, but for me, I would definitely put her S plus.
I think S tier because I think it's hard to utilize her Lord skill.
That's fair. Yeah, and the cultists seem, at least anecdotally, seem harder to pull. I'm saying that having just pulled Zealous and Morrigan this weekend, but before that, I'd only ever pulled Osiris. So, and I know a lot of people also struggle to pull them.
Yeah, it's just ever since I got her, I didn't really use her, right? So Daemon, you made a guide on Daemon, right?
I didn't do it. I did a live test, like a live review. I had really high hopes for Daemon even before his rework, and I had even higher hopes after. For you guys don't know, they changed a couple little things in his kit, but then they gave him Awakenings. I will say his Awakenings really make him more potent. I don't know if you want to pull it up. However, I think Daemon is going to be good because he does hit kind of hard, but not that hard. If he hit super hard, he could be relevant now. But I think as it is now, he's relevant for content that's not in the game yet. So you can see, I will say, he's got this A3, which is super cool. He can do a 5 enemy immobilize, and he's a drop unit, right? So if you're familiar with like an Aatrox or a Cerberus, he's got a low deploy cost, and then he's got a really low revival time. So you can think of him in line of someone like a Decimus, but he doesn't have that like drop undead spam that Decimus has where he can just tank anything because he gets that unyielding effect, or whatever Decimus calls it. However, he does do damage. So there's that. And then if you get him to A3, he does the immobilize. And if you want to check his A5 very quickly, it's pretty strong too, because his ultimate lasts 2 more seconds. And basically the way you're going to use him is you're going to drop him. His ultimate's in effect. He gets huge damage boosts. The second it's over, you pick him up. You rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So something with a lot of mobs or some interesting kind of mazy map where he could be like a somewhat tanky but high damage dealer, he could work totally well. That I just don't think that content exists right now. I tried to bring into as much content as I could. I couldn't really make him hum anywhere, but I could totally see there being some kind of Void Rift stage or some future gear raid or something where I really think he'd be good. But for now, he's not.
I just love his design. Look at this
coolest
design.
In the game. How is he not a legendary? This is like this looks like a Lord design, you know?
Yeah, it's really sad that it's,
you know,
it's
in the
so
lore,
underwhelming.
In the lore, his brother is Ain or Ein. And Ein looks so boring, and Ein's a lord, and then he's like the godly prince, and then he's like a kind of an average, mediocre epic. It's pretty funny. But I would put him C. He's still usable now, but not really. However, I think there's one day where he'll be an A, maybe an S, even just that content isn't here yet.
Yeah, I agree. He's mainly a damage dealer, and he doesn't deal that much damage, simply.
He could, if he got another rework where he got like 4 seconds of unyielding even, he'd be sick. But we don't have that right now.
Then I want to put out the first god tier unit here, Oleg.
100%.
I mean, there's not much to it, is it?
I can speak for like 20 seconds because right after this, I'm filling my Oleg guide. Oleg is super. We just talked about this in the video we did on my channel, which I guess I'll plug now. We did a tier list of just epic fighters in pretty major detail, so you guys can check that out. But I was talking about how much I love Scorch because his kit's so simple. Olog's the same thing, especially since you're not going to use his ultimate. So basically, you just build him as tanky as possible. You don't have to think too hard, and you just let that Silver Shield auto passive trigger as much as possible. And I really like that you're putting him in God because it really highlights what you set out as like the criteria, right, for this thing. He does something that literally no one else can do, including legendaries. He just self-sustains with basically an endless infinite shield.
Yeah, he's just that guy. Like, Oleg is him.
He is him, yeah.
Yeah.
Not much to say. He's so good. And he's like one of the few people where like what he does in AMR, he's better than every legendary in the game too, which is so cool.
He doesn't even need a healer.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So Navras, I don't want to go over Navras too much. I don't think he's that good. I think he's B tier.
I think he's A, but we can settle for B. I will say I'm going to 6-star him next week, so then maybe we can revisit this. But he's pretty cool, but yeah, he's not a superstar.
Then next Lord, Pyrus. You're the guy for the Lords.
Yeah.
Or us Pyrus.
Yeah, I'm also the guy for Pyrus because he's my most wanted champion right now. Pyrus for me, I think either God or S+. I think he's got like the best Lord skill there is, him and Twin Fiend for Guild Boss. For me, Guild Boss is the most important piece of content. And he's a god for that, at least. I could see if you want to bring him to S+, because there's other stuff that's a lot harder to use him in. And there's certainly a lot of places he's not very relevant. But for me, he has to be S+ or god.
It's a good argument, actually. But I agree with you 100%. Like, he is at least the best unit in S+ by far.
Yeah, he's like... There's only one Lord better than him, who we'll see in a second. But
and the reason is that Pyrus actually is better than the legendary Lord. Think about that real quick.
Unless you get him A1.
A1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get 2 copies of Twin Fiend.
Yeah. or you get a legendary Soulstone, which is why I think Guild Boss is so important.
If you think about it, Pyrus outperforms his legendary counterpart, and that just says enough. Like, that just says enough of how potent he is. For
you guys who don't know, it's because Pyrus puts out the vulnerabilities, and Twin Fiend doesn't get that, even though Twin Fiend, so he puts 20% vulnerability, Twin Fiend does 25%, but that's only unlocked at Awaken 1. So good luck pulling 2 legendary lords.
And then next up, Livian. I have her at A tier. I think she's a decent tank. She can tank a bit. She can survive, but she's not like exceptional.
I think that's fair. I think she's a fantastic tank, and if you don't have better options, you can 6-star her. I might have put her S, but the fact that you get Olog for free now from the Void Rift, like, she will never be better than him at basically anything.
Yeah, and basically there's you basically need 2 or 3 tanks, and these tanks we will go over right now, right? So Isolde, the next one.
S+ for me.
For me too.
Yeah, not so much to say. She's just, I think North Throne is maybe the best PvE faction in the game, and she's a Lord for it. And most of us don't have King Hearts. Unfortunately, I joined after the Isolde fusion, but most of you guys probably didn't, and you have her, so you know how good she is. She does a lot of good stuff for other people, but even in late game Void Rift, just doing the nice increases with the shields and the block for herself is pretty huge. And even if she never touches the battlefield, you know, helping out your vortexes, helping out your nocturnes, helping out your Ologs, that alone. I mean, the fact that she's the Lord of the God, right?
That's exactly, like, she has that synergy with Oleg, right? I always use these 2. Ever since I have both of these tanks, I don't use any other tank than these 2. Because she gives the Lord bonus, and she's pretty much the tankiest tank there is in the epics as well. Yeah. And then you have Oleg himself.
Yeah, I would say kit-wise, she's the 3rd best epic tank, but then add in that Lord skill and all the utility that brings, she's insane.
And next tank, which is for me also S+, is Baron.
Baron's insane. Is this Flame not there?
Yeah,
he's officially headless.
He's retired.
Okay, Baron is so cool. Baron was the first good champion I ever pulled on my account. So I pulled him
Same
on my
for
first.
me.
Yeah, I pulled him on my first day. He was the second epic I pulled. Was he for you too?
Yeah.
Awesome. And he's just, I love him so much. He is the only tank that is better than Olag at anything, and that is the fact that he does have the unyielding. Once you get late game gear, he's probably just as good because you can trigger that ult a lot. I love him. I do think he probably is one notch below Olag just because he doesn't have that one special thing, but undeniably he's S+. He's so freaking good. He's better than a lot of legendaries.
Yeah, he may not be as tanky as an Olag, but his unyielding state just makes him so strong for Gear 8 too. Like
end game, which I'm not at yet, but I've played around with on the test server, he can actually do like damage with his shield explosion too.
yeah, that's true. I used him actually as my tank back in the days with the light lock strat.
Yeah.
And he did like 1 million damage.
Yeah,
just with his
it's
AoE.
crazy. Crazy.
So
and one thing to add about Baron is he's Nightmare faction, so I actually still use him for every single piece of content. I'll pick him over Olag a lot of the times because my main team is a Nightmare team, so I need him as that fourth body to get the Lord bonus.
exactly, and then you can take him out after, right?
If I need to.
And Scorch, you were talking on it on your video. What do you think of him?
Yeah, Scorch I've had since like day 1 or 2. Scorch is really cool. You can just think of him as like an epic Valkyria. He's got 1 extra tile of range. He's got the most simple kit there is. His ult is just increase. I think I can memorize it. I think his ult is increased damage by 25% or 20%. It can get this up to 50, and then his passive is just his attack is up by 10%. And you can get that up to 20. That's basically it. He just does some AoE magic damage. He hits kind of hard. I wish his base attack was higher, but he makes up for that with the rest of his kit. I wouldn't mind clicking on his awakenings. I'd be curious what that does. So this just makes him a little tankier, which works because you bring him in heavy armor combat. That's pretty crazy, his Awaken 3. And then if you just want to check his Awaken 5 as well, damage increased by 10 if this unit is not blocked. Enemy's not blocked by this unit. And that works so synergistically with his kit because he's got the extra tile of range. So typically, as you would with like most range guys, you put him behind a defender or a tankier fighter like Abomination or something. He can really hit hard. I hope I get him A5 one day, or maybe I'll just bring him into the test server and try it out. But he's pretty good, and he's unique because it's AoE magic damage. I don't know who else is really doing that besides him, and Jankar kind of has AoE.
Yeah, I mean, he's just versatile, right? He has magic damage. He does what he's supposed to do. Everything on his kit screams AoE, and that's what he does. In my opinion, he's A tier.
Yeah, I think he's right in the middle of A. I think he's good.
Okay, then.
Should we do a dog water one? Should we just do Harpoon or something?
Yeah, dog water one. Where?
Yeah. Harpoon's over there next to Ain. He's the fourth one.
All right, dog water Harpoon. What do we have to say about Harpoon?
He's like gotta be, besides the one we're going to talk about later, he's got to be the second worst marksman. He's worse than so many rare marksmen in my opinion. I will take Drogo over him every day of the week. There's just nothing to say. He's like multi-target. He's super boring. He's got low multipliers. I actually don't know his base stats, but I'm assuming those suck too. They do. Yeah, he just stinks. He's literally just fusion fodder. He's really bad. Really bad. Maybe he's even worse. We should just talk about the next guy now, maybe. Brunor, who we kind of agreed is the worst epic in the whole game. But maybe Harpoon's worse. I didn't know he had 2,900 base attack with those terrible multipliers too. That's crazy. So yeah, probably only Brunor is worse. He's got this funky range. It gets super wide when you promote him, but to me, at least when I've used him, it feels like he's never hitting where I want him to hit. He also really penalizes himself with this crazy attack, hamstring. It's really bad. He decreases his own attack speed. So basically you're paying to be able to use his ultimate. I thought paying the actual rage price was what we needed to do. I will say if you go to Awakenings, you can get rid of that. But you got to get him all the way to Awaken 5. So it's like, are you really going to bring him all the way to Awaken 5 just so he stops making himself terrible? If you compare that to someone like Amani, who we talk about later, she also limits herself on her after her ultimate, but you can get rid of that at just Awakening 1. So the only way to make Brunor even close to usable is to bring him to Awaken 5. So I think he's just...
and even then, if you look at the damage multipliers, they are terrible. And the worst part is, take a look at this attack interval right here. 3.5.
So it's the second lowest possible, right? Only Zealous is lower than that. And then he's going to reduce his own attack speed. He's really bad.
Yeah,
he's worse. He's the worst. He's so bad.
Yeah. I sold him for a in the Awakening shop for a Tariel Awakening. I sold him.
I will say I don't sell the worst people usually. I don't sell anyone, but I would particularly not sell the worst people because in my mind they're like most likely to get buffed.
Yeah, I was like, nah, get this man out of my face.
You know what it is? I just play. You can cut this if you want, but what it is for me is I just played Raid Shadow Legends, and when I started playing, Mashald was the single worst character in the game, and after his buff, he became one of like the 10 best legendaries in the game at that point. So I just always am just waiting for these characters to get crazy buffs.
I had the craziest legendary back then, the poison guy, the undead poison guy. I don't remember.
Oh, Bad Alcazar.
Yeah. I had this 2 times at the beginning.
Crazy.
And I was spending like crazy, and then I realized, nah, I gotta stop playing this game. I spent too much money.
Yeah, this game's better. Let's continue.
Yeah. Let's continue. So yeah, Bruno, absolute dog water. Like, get this man just...
Maybe worse than dog water. He's cat water.
Yeah, just get him out of the game. He doesn't even deserve a spot here on the list. But come on.
This game does my... I love dwarves. That's like my favorite like faction of like people in these fantasy things, and they do this game does dwarves dirty, really dirty.
They do.
Only Brokir is good. All the other dwarves are so bad.
Yeah, Zor as well.
Yeah, well, Zor's terrible. Like only Brokir is viable. Like Cratch so bad. Brokir's good, but Brunor's so bad. Azor's so bad. It's frustrating.
Yeah, but I feel like this in multiple of these gacha games where dwarves are, they're usually just getting done dirty a bit.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I love my dwarves. Alas.
All right. Then next up, the next god tier unit will be Titus. He's just self-sufficient. He's really good. If you take a look at him real quick, I have him A5. So there we have Titus. Yeah, he's just annihilation mode. I mean, he's just annihilation. Like that says it. He's just so good. He's so tanky. No, but for real, I think his kit would be so good. Like, it's so interesting. Like, he's self-sufficient. He can't be healed. He heals himself. He gets damage reduced and everything. But the problem is just that he costs 31 to place.
The only way Titus could be anything... So, guys, he's joking, if that wasn't clear. The only way Titus could ever be good is if his like Awakening 5 was his cost is cut in half. If he cost 16, then he would be usable. But at 31 should be reserve costs for like you drop an atomic bomb on the entire map, not you place a decent defender.
Yeah, like Exodia, right?
Yeah, you go full Yu-Gi-Oh mode.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, his cost is just too high to use him, and him not being able to be healed scuffs him. He has good stats. Look at his stats. He actually has really good stats.
Great stats, yeah. Amazing HP.
But yeah, his cost is what is holding him back, and
he's basically he's unusable for most players. He's unusable.
Yeah, basically that's it about Titus. So Titus is a dog water as well.
Yeah, he better get a buff or something, because otherwise he's the biggest waste of space in the game, because he's even less usable than the other guys.
Yeah, just his cost is it's so annoying, because I like his kit actually.
I like his kit too. Yeah.
And what do you think of I?
I think I just got a little bump because of Esotericist's faction trial coming. I think she's one of the absolute best units there. I know that's kind of niche. I probably would have had her as a C. Because of that, I'd move her to a B. And she also, I just got her Awaken 1 yesterday when I was pulling. And her Awaken 1's pretty good if you want to pull that up. Or I can just tell you, it just increases the damage you get from her like frosty icicle things that freeze people. It increases by 50%. So it goes from literally doing nothing to kind of doing something. So I'd give her a B.
Yeah, I think like her bombs do a lot of damage. It's just these bombs take too long to be placed. Like that's the main issue.
Yeah, kind of they do a lot of damage, but not enough. But then once you get her A1, they kind of do almost enough to validate it. And she freezes people. It's okay.
Then next up we have Deimos.
I would maybe, I know you're not going to want to put him in God, so we can put him in S+. But I think for me, he might be God just because... Are we ranking these against legendaries too, or just epics?
We're ranking them against legendaries too.
Okay, then he can be S+. But for epics, there's no one can come close to him in terms of single target damage. I think that's enough to say just to put him in S+. He's also like the best candidate for Soulstones, I think, besides maybe probably the person we'll say is the best character on this list, in the whole list. So.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. He's just the strongest epic DPS there is in single target.
He's like the face on the app for a reason. He's super good.
Yeah, and his drop rate is so low for a reason as well, right?
Yeah. Somehow I pulled him twice. I don't know how.
Yeah. Then Raiden, you have him?
I wish I had him because I got Comet a few days ago, but I still would put him S+. I could easily argue that he's S. If we're putting A on S, then he has to be S, so I'll say that much. But for me, he's like a usable, solid AoE mage, but his Lord skill is for me probably the worst of the epic Lord skills. It's minus 15% cost for his own faction. However, if you have Comet, maybe I'm just being biased because I have Comet, but you really need that if you have someone like Comet. So
don't worry, I'm also biased because I have Comet.
However, I'm not going to let you keep Aeon at S if we're putting Raiden in S, so he has to go down. But what I will say is, even if you're probably not running an Esotericist team, unless you have Comet or Eloin or something like this, he's got a good kit for damage, especially if you get him to Awaken 3. Then he can actually do real proper AoE magic damage, and we all know how rare AoE magic damage is for a lot of people in this game.
Exactly. But there is a good AoE mage.
Oh yeah, S+ for sure.
That is right here.
Yeah.
So, Iona. I put her.
So I'm obviously not a spender. It's like my whole thing. However, if I was to spend money, my first $5 would definitely go to getting her.
This one right here.
Yeah, she's so good, man.
She also has a low drop rate, just like Deimos, for a reason. Oops, speed jiggling right here. But yeah, she is, after the two main carries in Gear 8-1, the third best option pretty much.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, then next up, Dellen. I think Dellen, here's my hot take, is S tier. I think she's S tier simply because of the video I showed you earlier, that she is being used for Gear 8-3-21. I think any unit that is going to be used that late in the game, no matter the circumstances, deserves S tier, especially if it's the most important piece of content. So yeah, she does her niche job, but she does it the best out of all units.
Yeah, I agree that she's the best cost regenerator. For me, she would be A, but it's your list.
Okay. Midon, what do you think?
For me, Midon would be S. She's the second best HP best healer here. Her heals, because she's AoE, that might sound more appealing, and it did to me when I read everyone's kit when I first started playing. However, her heals, because they're AoE, just don't scale as well as single target heals, like someone we're going to talk about shortly. Maybe we should just talk about him next. But she's solid, and she's got a little defense buff. She's got pretty good awakenings. She's a little bit cheaper than your average healer. She's only 15 cost. I think she's just solid S. She's really good in Gear 8 too.
Who you want to talk next?
Vortex.
I think S too. All right, Vortex S+.
Yeah, for sure. I think Vortex is like insanely endgame viable for certain content. He's better than legendaries. He's got amazing range. And even though he's single target, just build him with a lot of attack speed. Those heals are so much bigger than what Midon's doing. So in the time Midon's doing her AoE heals, he could catch up with how big his single target heals are.
And especially in the content that you need a lot of healing, like Gear 8-2, you usually want to use Isolde as well, so he benefits from the buff and the bonus stats as well there.
Yeah.
But of course Midon as well. But
yeah,
just a small thing. His range is mainly the reason why he's so strong.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the HP scaling, because if you pull him up, his
HP is super low.
Exactly. He only has 8.7k HP, so even if he's HP scaling and put a lot of an HP on him, he won't be that insanely.
If you go to his awakenings really fast, so typically, guys, if you are not familiar with reading people's awakenings, usually awakening number 2 is like kind of lame. It's usually like plus 5% attack or plus something. But for him, it is this lame thing, plus 1200 HP. But this is like the most important awakening for him, because his HP is so low, like this any little bit extra you can get is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And you can cheese out stuff with his ultimate in Gear 8-2, and he is just basically the best epic single target healer there is.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about the best healer though.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That is right here, Hollow. If we pull her up real quick. She's cursed, Hollow. So basically Hollow, just like Vortex, she has insane range, and she has rage regen for her allies. So she's basically the 4-star version of Eloin, and Eloin is a core unit in any type of content in late game.
Yeah, she's S+. I completely agree. She's fantastic.
I think she's better than Vortex. What do you think?
Yeah, I think early game Vortex is definitely better just because it's so hard to build these guys tanky enough. But later game, you can still get great heals and put some HP on her so she doesn't die. She's way better in Guild Boss than Vortex, and that alone, like I'd much rather once I pull, hopefully I'll pull Hollow and I can replace my Vortex with her because she's that rage regen's huge.
Yeah, definitely. I also don't have her. Small pattern. The good units drop rarely.
For sure.
Then we have Ein. I think Ein is decent. He mainly profits from his Lord bonus, while he's barely S tier.
I completely agree.
Okay, then Astrid. You have high opinion of her, right?
Yeah, unfortunately I don't have her, but I can promise you guys if I don't get her soon, I will be playing with her in the test server. Just reading her kit, we talk about this a lot in the video we just recorded on my channel. It just reads nuts. Like it reads like a legendary kit. It's got AoE, it's got defense reduction, it's got super high attack speeds, it's got, so there's some spamming involved. She's got cool awakenings. I just don't see how she doesn't put out, she got crazy high base stats. She has like legendary base stats, like 50, 119 attack, I think we said it was.
Yeah.
Like I think she's just like I probably would say S+, but I'm just hesitant to do it because I've never used her. But just reading her kit, it reads like S+.
I think that's off the charts completely. I think I have quite a bit of a different opinion about Astrid.
Tell me.
And that is her main job is dealing damage. Like if you read through all of this, her job is dealing damage, right? The problem with her is she deals good damage, she has good stats and everything seems fine, but her competition is too high. The units she competes with are too many strong units. Like if you put, let's say we have S+, we have Iona here, right? Iona. Who is she competing with? Iona has Comet and Vierna to compete with, and that's it. And then she comes.
Oh, you're saying legendary competition, because I actually think she's probably the best of every epic for what she does.
And then Astrid, who does she compete with? She competes with Abomination. She competes with Arrogance, Zilla2.
Oh yeah, like we can make her S if we're comparing her against those legendary counterparts. But I think compared to the epic, she's better. She's better than Deimos, and she's even better than Wrath. We're going to talk about when it comes just to like spamming out melee damage, like for PvE
I think her faction holds her back as well in that.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we can put her as S then.
Yeah, put her here. Then Ref, you said. I think he's definitely S+.
I think he's God.
You think he's God?
I think Wrath is God for sure.
How come?
I just think he's the lord of probably the most important unit, most important faction for most people in the game, the most accessible faction, the best synergistic faction. He's good at almost every single piece of content. He's got crazy high base stats. I think that he would easily be like at least a mid-tier legendary, plus he's got that lord thing. And he's super easy to build. They make his kit super high base stats. He's got the built-in 15% crit rate. For me, he would be God.
Okay, but where would you put him without the Lord skill?
Without the Lord skill? Probably S+.
Still S+.
Yeah, I think he's better than Estrid, worse than Estrid in terms of damage by just a hair, but he makes up for it with dot damage with the burn that you can use on Guild Boss, and he's got the crazy self-sustain once you get him. We're assuming A5, right, guys? So once you get him A5, you get some penetration, and you get insane self-sustain. He's really hard to die. You can run him a lane by himself in Guild Boss. And I think it's even if he wasn't the Lord, if you're using a Torador, he can still be a fourth unit for Nightmare Faction if you didn't have other people. He's you need that fourth body, and he's an amazing one.
So I have here for the God slot, I have it reserved for 2 units and 2 units only. Okay. And that is because the God slot is basically irreplaceable units.
Yeah.
They're not being able to be replaced at all.
Yeah. I mean, we can put him up there.
You could say cause Pyrus and Wrath are like lords and therefore less irreplaceable. They are basically God. You get me. You get me now.
It's hard with the Lord skill, right? Because it's
Yeah.
Pyros and Wrath are irreplaceable because the meta guild boss team is going to be an Infernal team and a Nightmare team, and the vast majority of people are not going to have Twin Fiend and are not going to have Toreador, right? So I just think in that sense, if you're going for the best Nightmare 14 possible, then they're irreplaceable.
I just think like these two outmatch anyone else.
Well, we can talk about Dolores. Dolores is number one. I pulled her yesterday. I could not be happier. You just made a video. You just made it.
Entire game.
Yeah, I think so too. You just made a video about her, so you can tell us.
Yeah, I made a video about her on why she's a problem for the game, because she's just by far the best unit. It's mainly not that her attack buff is insane. It's just that how the defense works makes it so insane. She doesn't have a single replacement that does compare to her. You have Autumn, but Autumn doesn't do shit compared to Dolores in the end game. I haven't seen one person clear a gear 8 stage at 20 and above without a Dolores. I haven't seen one person clear a Nightmare 4 without a Dolores. Like, she's irreplaceable.
Yeah, it's a big problem. For people that don't know, the way damage is calculated, it's like a long equation. We're not 100% sure of it, but for sure the first step is attack minus defense. So your attack really needs to be higher. There's essentially a defense number, like a defense check, a wall you have to overcome. And without insane gear, it's especially with late end content, it's kind of like impossible unless you have someone just giving the whole team 6,000 extra attack, you know? And there are going to be heroes coming eventually that can do it, but right now it's just her. They need some way to make a rare version, maybe that does 30%. I mean, we have something like, what's his name, Skulf, but that's random and he has super low base attack. There needs to be some solution, because I completely agree. I do think it's a problem, because there could be someone paying $20,000 on this game, getting every best champion, every lord, but not having Dolores and hitting a wall. It's honestly the same thing like Pyros with Guild Boss, kind of, but to a greater extent.
But she's more like Guild Boss is just one part of the game.
Yeah, to a greater extent.
Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the problem. She doesn't have a replacement, and that was my problem in the video. Like I couldn't care less if you think about it. I mean, I have her, but I know I've seen people already leave this game because they were just sick of being stuck a month at Gear 8 stage 19.
Yeah, people will quit. People will quit in a month.
They had the better DPS legendaries than I had. They had the better gear than I had, but they couldn't clear it.
Yeah, that's honestly, this is a video for another day. Maybe we can do, but there's a problem in this game is some pieces of content, because we have a limited champion pool right now. It's so character dependent, not gear dependent, not strategy dependent. It's specifically character dependent. So it kind of becomes the thing of, in every other game, it's like use your diamonds, use your in-game currency on stamina, grind. In this, it's kind of like save up and pull and pray.
It's a little mix of both, yeah.
Yeah.
And because she doesn't have a replacement is why she's God. And this is also why Komodo, in my opinion, is S tier. Because he only has 2 replacements that are Luguru and Salazar. And these are legendaries.
And Vladov.
But he does a better job.
Yeah, he's better. He's better than Vladov for sure.
I agree. Komodo, I made a video on it. I still use him in Artifact Raid. I use him in Guild Boss. He's specifically for these stuff good, but he shines at that.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Komodo puts out Bleed, which is some nice dot damage, but what's most important with that is it basically like marks the target, so then if any of your guys have the Scarlet Hunt artifact, they can do a lot more damage. It's really cool, it's really unique, and he actually has
even without the Scarlet Hunt.
Yeah, even without the Scarlet Hunt. And he has a better chance of putting it up than Salazar even. It's very reliable.
Like, it's basically 50% uptime throughout the entire Guild Boss fight. Then next up I have Maul at S+ as well. Strongest AoE damage dealer pretty much next to Iona.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he's super
especially he's one of the rare units that can deal with the right side of Gear 8 3 together with Tariel, which alone bumps him up to S+.
I agree.
Then Mary, I'm actually not so sure about Mary.
Oh, for me, I'm pretty sure she's at least S. I think based on your, I'd probably put her S, but based on your criteria, I think she's S plus, because who else can do what she does? If you build her right, it's like, and you get the right artifacts on her, it's like constant crazy slows and then very quick uptime on these freezes. If you need CC, which you do for certain pieces of content, she's kind of unmatched. I could see bumping her just to S because like she's not as necessary as some of the other units we've highlighted. So I'd be happy with that. But I think any lower than S is selling her short. Like basically she does what Shamir does, but she's way better.
Yeah, I think Mary, between A and S, I think the freeze is not as important as a bleed from a Komodo. She's good in arena, for example. She can be used in gear 8-1, but in end game she's kind of hard to utilize.
Yeah, but she's amazing in early game. You'll use her in every team. Amazing in early game.
Yes, definitely. Then Imani.
Imani was my first 6-star. I really like Imani. She's a bit niche to have her at her full potential, and I still don't have her there. You need her A3. You really can't use her at all unless very sparingly, unless you have her A1. But she is really, really good, and her A5 is awesome too. She hits super hard. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the highest base attack, which bothers me, but she has crazy multipliers when you use her ultimate. So
quite a decent one for a mage, though.
Yeah, but like I guess just because like I love her so much, I wish she would like. She almost is getting to like that legendary level of damage, but she can't get it really without A5. But with A5, she's insane. I can't wait to get her there. I would put her S. I wish she could be S plus, but I think she can't. I do think I will eventually find content or find some strategy with her at least at A3. So at A3, she gets 25 seconds off her redeployment, and her whole kit is about deploying her. She immediately kind of brings up her ultimate, and she's so strong until the ultimate expires. So basically, I think there's going to be content where you just drop her, pick her up, do that like 3 times, and she does things that no one, even legendaries, can't do. I think she's super unique.
Yeah, I think her whole kit functions with each other, right?
Yeah, perfect.
It screams
synergy.
Single target DPS, and on top of it, she is infernal.
Yeah.
Single target DPS. Perfect. Like, she's good at guild boss, and she's also actually really good at gear 8-2
really
for the single target part. Especially because of her ultimate, if you take a look. It's high cost, right? But with skill ups, now my game is lagging.
Well, I can say while it lags with skill ups, it only needs 100 costs to get full on
Exactly.
deployment.
So you basically have it up on deployment.
Yeah.
So you can just put her in, get her ult out, and clear the first wave in gear 8-2.
Yeah.
So I agree on that with you. I actually thought maybe you would put her lower, but I think as well she's S tier.
Oh yeah, no, I love Imani. I love her.
Then Jankor.
Yeah, we just talked about Jankar on my channel. He's really good, very unique with his curse. He's got that kind of allows him to tank more content. He gets 3 block when you promote him, which obviously you will if you use him. And he has magic damage and a touch of multi-target. I think for me, he's A. He's not at the level of some of these S units, but he's super good. I'd probably put him to the top of A.
I think he's B tier simply because he does multiple things at once, but nothing really perfectly. And therefore he has a lot of replacements that are just better in that specific aspect that is needed for the stages.
That's fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what I mean, of course. Yeah, it all just depends what units you have. I think he is really, really strong. Like, I'd rather him than Theowen personally, you know? But it depends who you have.
Okay. Zareen, I think, is B tier as well. I think in early game she can help, but the later stages in AMR and stuff, the fights, early stage of the fight is too fast paced for her.
I agree.
Alright, so Nizalt, I think he's just not as good as Cuke. Cuke is way faster in the poison application, why I believe he is C tier.
We can put him in C tier. I'd say put him in B tier if there wasn't all the RNG that goes into him. He can get crazy results in the guild boss if everything lines up perfectly and he gets the full 40% damage increase, but it's really hard to control, and that variability, I think he's not reliable, so I think C tier is fine.
Then Nisande, I think she's S tier. She gives attack speed, she gives healing, she does a lot of stuff.
I would definitely not put her S tier.
Why not?
She's like the same as Lightlock then. I mean, because her attack speed buff is pretty small. It's not going to do more than like a 0.1 second tick. The coolest thing about her is that her healing can bounce to people out of her range. So she's kind of like Ezreal in that way. So I like it, but I don't think she's S tier. Like she's not this.
I think she's S tier because if we take a look
piercers.
Here.
Oh.
on
Yeah,
all heroes. You know,
yep. Yeah, but it's 50
attacking
attack speed though.
50
It's going
attack
to be
speed.
0.1 second tick.
Yeah, but it is better than like a light lock.
Yeah, so then you can put her. Yeah, but I don't think that brings her to S. It's not on the level of like mid on. She's still an attack based healer. That's going to make you maybe, depending on if your high speeds, 50 won't even be enough to get you down 0.1 seconds.
I mean, mid on for me isn't that good either, I think.
Yeah. All right, it's your list.
And I think she's the same tier as mid on, honestly.
Okay.
Because mid on's heal are not that strong as I would like them to have.
Sure.
Then Aatrox.
B.
Yeah, I think he's niche, but he can work.
Yeah, super niche, but you can drop him and do some damage where you need.
Then Cyclone gets
Maybe,
man out of my face.
Maybe he's king of the dog water actually.
Yeah.
Least usable champion in the game.
Like he has 2 abilities in his kit that are basically useless: his dodge and his knockback. I don't see any point.
Literally useless. The only thing you can do for knockback that I've seen is you can delay when people like in the arena when the enemies might target your portal. You can, so if it's like an even fight, but that's never going to come up. Never.
Then you'd rather pick Mary, right?
Yeah, I'd rather bore it. At least he's a lord.
Then we have
Vladov.
Vladov. Vladov comes later. Vladov, where you put him? I think he's A tier actually. I think he's A tier for the moment, simply because he's a lord. I don't think his bleed application or his kit is that strong.
He does have the reduced arena cost, which makes him relevant. I mean, he is a lord. I think he's probably S tier, but because so many of us have so few chaos units, we can put him as A tier.
Then next up, Woroth. I think he's also A tier. I think he's good, he's decent. If he was a nightmare faction, he would be way different, but I think his faction works against him.
I agree. I think he's an awesome fighter, but he's like out of place.
Like sure, his shield from the awakening, like when he gets bonus damage, his AoE spin he gets when he's shielded and takes damage, but the rate on which this is gonna happen is just too low to have any effect.
This game is also just overloaded with fighters, so it's really hard to shine as a fighter as an epic.
Yeah, if you're not some top tier unit.
Yeah, exactly.
Evelyn, I think she's where do I have her?
I would put her at A. She's really unique in that she's got the base 4 block.
As I have her at B because of the 4 blocks, but she is really squishy compared to others.
That's fair. Yeah, she's got bad base stats. However, like if you put an Olog's Wall on her, it's kind of crazy that she could be just casually blocking 5 people as a normal.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's fine. I can be fine with B tier.
Then Gluttony, I think he's C tier.
Yeah, C tier for sure. He's like the definition of C tier.
Yeah, he perfectly fits it.
Yeah.
Mariel, I would put it actually above Evelyn in A tier.
Really? I would put her. Then I would put Evelyn as well in A tier. I think they're both like pretty average B tier level defenders, but then they have a thing that makes them special, you know? But I haven't played with her heals. I don't know how big she can heal, so.
Yeah, that's the only whole point. Her heals, but the heals are quite low. Honestly, I tried it. But she is a bit tankier. She can heal a bit. She gives a bit utility.
Okay.
But she's not enough, actually.
We can put her at the top of B.
Yeah. Then we got 4 units left. I forgot his name.
Greed. For me, Greed is S+.
S plus?
Yeah, so I think Greed is super underrated in the same way that someone like Estrid is, just because he clearly has a lower drop rate. It seems like no one gets him. He's got pretty nice AoE magic damage. That alone is really cool, but the thing you just clicked on is like the only thing I care about. He's like one of the rarest debuffs in the game. It's magic resistance reduction, and you're going to use him in stages like Gear Raid 1, where they're all heavy armor units and you need magic damage. This is super rare. As you get him awakened up too, if you Soulstones on him, these two things will trigger at the same time. So you're getting big damage, you're getting big slows, you're getting this super crazy debuff, and then you pair Creed with a Comet, and all of a sudden your Comet can like nearly solo these stages I've seen. So just the fact that he can enable these things from the absolute best heroes in the game, like your Comets, like your Virnas, like that makes him S plus to me. Like that's super unique, and it's super easy because it's on his basic too. I think,
and also,
and he puts out the crowd control, if that's what you're gonna say, which goes so well with that faction. If you have the lords, I think he's so good, man.
That's what I was gonna put out, because look at it. If you look at his range, it's one tile further than her lord, and if you have Eon, right, it's hard to put out all the crowd control, but he has that extra tile, so he can actually put on shred and the crowd control, so he does two things at once.
If you can get an Awaken 5 greed, man, like that is like a legendary quality unit, you know? Like you might build him for attack and be like, oh, this attack's good, but it's like not that good, like someone like Zealous maybe. But like if you pair him then and you see what he does as like an assist to your Virna or to your with Comet, dude, he'd be crazy.
Exactly. So he doesn't deal as much damage as Iona, but he does a lot more utility, and I value utility more on an epic, because
me too.
A damage dealer will always be outperformed by a legendary.
He also does do more damage than you think, though. It's closer to Iona than it is to someone like Raiden.
He has a lot of AoE.
Yeah, he's got good damage. Yeah, he's cool. Also, he looks great.
Yeah, he's unique.
Yeah, really unique. Almost done.
Almost done. Selkath. Selkath.
I don't know anything about Selkath besides briefly reading his kit, so this one's all you.
So Selkath,
he's the bubble boy.
Yeah, he basically gives attack speed. If you go here, he gives some attack speed. He doesn't do anything else other than that.
So he sucks.
He throws some bubbles, but
30 attack speed. Guys, I'm gonna put out an attack speed video. 30 attack speed is nothing.
Yes. So like we talked about before, like usually you want to have a damage increase, over attack speed increase, which makes him just low C tier, even nearly dog water.
I agree. He's that's so bad.
Then we have 2 units to go. You want to take the lead with?
I'll take Azoth. Yeah, Azoth. I've actually already been working on a spotlight for him. He puts out crazy damage in Guild Boss, like insanely good damage in Guild Boss. You really need to fully awaken him, but that's kind of what we're talking about here. If you have an Infernal Lord, he is Infernal. The more Infernals on your Infernal team, the better. For that alone, he is S for me. Okay, I know that might be a hot take, but
I don't think he's S tier. Simply because he has too much competition to compete with.
I guess, but I mean, you're really going to have to be pulling Zealatu, Encetrum, and so on and so on. I think it's actually hard to get proper. Like he can do more than Imani for sure in the Guild Boss.
For him to be potent enough for the Guild Boss, for me, is like you really need to be early game, because you get the Wrath, right? You get the Abomination. You get
but that's a nightmare team.
Some other units at some point. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But you can also use Piercers. Some of the Piercers are quite good as well. So it's hard for me to find a spot for him. Yeah. And I wouldn't say you put a unit in S tier just for Guild Boss alone.
That's fair.
Unless he's the god of Guild Boss, right?
You guys will see in the video.
Yeah, that's good. So last but not least, we have Ardeth, who is a really unique character in the aspect that he is a defender, but he isn't really made to defend, but actually he has some offensive capabilities. And if you take a look here, Realm of Curse, he basically stops attacking, starts burning, and burns everyone with him, around him. And everyone who's getting burned gets vulnerability debuffs. While the burn is actually not a lot of damage if you do the maths, so he doesn't really do a lot of damage, the vulnerability can be nice. I just don't think it is enough to bump him up to a certain level where you're actually going to use him, which is why I think he's still B tier.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he does any proper damage, and you can get magic vulnerability from your Mari or something if you really need it.
Exactly, she does a better job at it. So yeah, that was the list. Basically, we went over all the epics. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with it, if you don't agree with it. But don't just say, oh, this unit better. Explain yourself, please. And yeah, Fastidious, do you have anything to add?
Thank you so much for having me. That was quite the marathon, but I think I learned something, so hopefully you guys did too.
Yeah, all right then. I hope you have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.